Hi everyone, welcome back to Let's Do Bonsai. I'm Scott Winard. Today's a really sunny day, on and off. We've got some good cloud in the sky, but there's been lots and lots of sunshine today, so it's really nice and warm in the planting area, so that's all nice and good. Today we're going to crack on with those little Christmas pine trees at last. We've got 6 of those now. So what we're going to do is plant them into 2 training pots, 3 in each one. We don't want to try and make a super forest straight away just now, because we don't know how they're going to do. One of them already looks a bit unwell because it was covered in that fake snow. So we'll get them into the training pots, see how they progress over this season, and then sometime maybe next year we'll look to try and plant them on or do something. So yeah, let's crack on with that. Let's get into the greenhouse. Right then, so finally ready to go. So these are the 2 training pots that we're going to use. They're a decent size. I don't want to try and fit any more than 3 into each one. So we've got plenty to work with. We'll put these 3 look almost identical, so they'll go into one of the training pots, and then these other 3, 2 are the same, so we can have maybe one at one end, one at the other end, and this poorly looking one here that it's had all that fake white snow on it. You can see that's still coming off. I've washed it off as best as possible because the sun wasn't getting to it. It's all, you know, it's had no light, it's all been dying back. So we might trim that, you know, back a ways, or we might just leave it to see if it greens up again. I'll make that decision as we go. But what we're going to do is put a layer of soil into each of these pots, and then we'll put a layer of the mycorrhiza fungi. It's the mica that was sent to me by Jay at Blue Jay Bonsai. Thank you once again, Jay, that's brilliant. You know, I've got some good use out of it. And today we're going to put a nice healthy level of the mica on that to help these roots maybe hopefully, you know, carry on growing and rooting. So I think we'll crack on with the poorly looking tree just to get that done first, and we'll place these ones just out to one side. I think these are a cypress, so these will be okay all together. We'll either stagger them in the pot or do something, but we'll work with that as we get to it. I have switched the cameras around. The one here is the one that's been used for the POV previously, but I did look at the last video and it all looked a little bit blurry and is not as, you know, clean and concise. And that is the GoPro 7 that's looking down here, and this one is the 8, and the 8 just seems to stabilize a bit better and it gives a slightly better picture. So we'll see how we get on with that. So let's just lift our trees out of the pot, and I think the first thing we'll do is we'll get a base layer of soil into this. I'm trying to burn through this soil so I can do a nice fresh mix. There's a lot of small particles that have broken off this mixture and worked its way into the bottom, and when I mix the soil up I get a lot of small particles. I might just try maybe re-sieving it again and get rid of all those fine particles maybe, but I'm happy with the mix. I'm just not happy with the you know, the amount of small particles that we're getting. So just a few more bits of soil to make a nice layer there. because we're not going to do too much root work on these trees. We're just going to rake away the top layer of soil, get it to our root level. So we'll be kind of slip potting these and just raking the top level of soil off, just to expose the top level of our root system, and the rest of the roots at the bottom, although they might run around the pot a little bit, we'll just allow them to find their route into the new pot. We don't want to mess around with the roots. It's end of January, it's still winter. We don't want to, you know, agitate these too much at all. So we'll just open up the mycorrhiza, the mica, and I'll just scoop some out so we can make a nice layer of that across the top. So that's going to be our planting level for the base of the root mass, because they're not that too deep a pot, and if I was to put them in like that, they're only a little bit above. By the time we've taken the topsoil off, we'll have lost quite a bit of that. So we'll work with the trees in the space we have left, and we'll just pull them out of the pots and rake out the top of the root level. So this is the first one out. Soil's just a little bit damp, so that's not too bad. We'll just rake the top of the soil away. We do have some, it does look like white tips of the roots there, so it looks like it's been putting out a bit of growth. So at the moment we will keep it to a bare minimum, just to get this top layer off to where we're going to be working with. So a lot of this soil will sit in this top still. So we have a root coming off the side of the trunk there. We have some nice movement there on the trunk, but that's possibly the tap root, and then it swings round and to the side. So we're going to keep that, and we'll literally just going to plant it in to our new pot and put our soil up and around that. We will get our mica and just put some of that onto the soil and original root ball there, and then we'll come in with some soil just to fill in around those roots. I think we'll take the one that's going to go into the opposite side next. So we'll just pull that out of its pot. These were £2. Big spender, Scott. We'll just rake down the top level of soil to get down to where our root plane is. And this soil in here is a little bit damp. It's not too wet, certainly not dry, and we're down to just about where our rooting starts. There's a big knot of roots there that come round from probably the underside, and yeah, something's coming up through the soil, up and over. So we will retain that for now, because until we distribute this into a planting properly, we don't want to do too much at all. So we'll sit that on top of our mica, come in with a scoop of mica just to place in and around the soil and the roots. We'll just shake that so it falls into the soil, and then we'll bring our bonsai soil and just plant that in. So these should sit far enough apart that they don't interfere with each other, but the mycorrhiza network, if it gets established, will allow the trees to talk and help each other. So this one that's showing signs of suffering, if the mycorrhiza fungus kicks in, the other two trees may well help assist by sending nutrients across to it. Now there is quite a bit of root coming out the bottom of this pot. We'll try and keep it, and we'll just take out these top layer of soil, which kind of falls straight to where the root is as well, so that's not too bad. I think we can just about stomach that. And then the soil has quite a lot of root in there, so we'll just agitate it a little bit, put all of our root in there. We're not going to snip any off, and then I'm just going to pick up this little blue scooper just so I can dress this mica into the root and soil ball, get more of a purchase into where it's going to be. So hopefully that will do okay in there. Just work it down ever so slightly. We've not worried about where our fronts etc. are. I would have normally taken a few of these lower branches away to expose the trunk, but we're just not at that process yet, so all we'll do is fill this up with our bonsai soil, and then we'll be able to place this outside because they're cold hardy trees, and they'll go through the natural winter and hopefully come out the other side into spring and start putting lots of roots into this pot and getting really established. So we'll just see where that leaves us. Push this soil around. We will water it in a moment, which will help the soil get established around the tree's roots, but I think they don't look too bad in there, considering it's just a quick, you know, set up just to get them out of those tiny little pots and let them put some roots out into a wider pot with more space. This will hopefully give them that first start as the planting that I have in mind. We're a little bit shallow round the back there, so I'll just get a scoop and pour that in. There's a lot of fine particles in here. I'm going to have to, at least after I've done these pots, re-sieve and get rid of all the particles that have built up. So I've got some of our liquid gold water, liquid gold as Tom calls it. It's from that tea brews that's bubbling away over there. It's been going for quite a while now. Keep the aerator going just to keep it oxygenated. But we'll water this all the way through, get it down and into that mycorrhiza that's in there, and hopefully that'll activate and become established within the roots of these trees. If I don't see them doing too much, but if they do start interfering with each other, we will come in and trim them back, but I don't see anything happening, at least until you know, well into the end of May and part way through June probably before we see too much coming from this, if anything at all. So that's half a bottle of water gone in there, so that should be enough to work with. And you can see there that the trees are established in that soil, and apart from that one at the front looking a little bit sorry for itself, they don't look too bad. So here we are with the 3 cypress trees. These have done okay, they've survived all right. I've kept them watered, and the glitter that's all over them doesn't seem to have affected them at all. They've just continued to do okay. We'll probably take these little lower trunks off. We'll dress this one up maybe a little bit nicer, but we'll see how we go. Let's get a bottom layer of soil into this pot. Let's just take a look, see where this level's got us to. I think that won't be too far off, although these might be a little bit shallower, the cypress trees. We can always build them up, I suppose, but we want the layer to be sat on top of our mica level that we put in. I think we'll put at least a scoop more in. And then we'll come in with a scoop of our mica. We might be using a lot here, to be fair, but it will do a great job. We'll just flatten that around on the top of the soil, and I think that'll do for now. Right, I've put the lights on because it was getting a little bit dark, but this is the darker end of the greenhouse area anyway, so it's not normally a problem. They've all got glitter on, so there's no, you know, changes or whatever, but because we've got basically that's a green glitter, that's a green glitter, I'm still not sure, and then a red one, we'll put the red one in the middle just so it creates a little bit of a pattern. So we will start with, let's start with this green one. There's lots of nice healthy roots down there, and there are some white tips, so we definitely don't want to agitate too much. We'll just get down to the bottom of the root plane, and there the roots are coming off of there. They're doing okay. We've got some suckers coming up from the bottom. We'll probably get rid of those. And I think we'll leave the roots as they are. There's lots of white tips on the end of there, so they have been starting to grow, which means I might keep them in here in the greenhouse. I don't want to shock them going outside into the freezing cold, so I think we'll keep them in here going forward. So sat on our level of mica is good. Come in with a scoop of it just to get it onto our root mass, and do we take those off, those suckers? Probably should. Do we leave them on for now? I think we leave them just for now. And leave our decision making for when we're working on the trees, when they're in really good health. I know they say if in doubt cut it out, but I don't know whether I'm going to be in doubt or not going forward. They probably should come off, but I'm going to leave them for now. We'll get our other green tree There's lots of nice roots in there. No white tips, so this one hasn't been too active just yet, but we'll just get down to wherever our root level is on this one, our root plane. We're not damaging any roots, they're just allowing the soil to come out. And it looks like it's all pretty much one-sided, this root mass, almost as if the plant's grown out at a bit of an angle. Yeah, it looks like it has. Yeah, so if we just agitate that slightly, not too much, but I just want to make it so that our base here is our base, and our mycorrhiza that we're going to activate inside this soil should help. So I think that's going to be our planting point. We'll get a bit of our soil underneath there just to support it, and then we'll come in with the blue scoop. We'll chuck a bit of mica underneath and in with our soil just to help it, and then plenty around the root mass. We'll top up with our soil. It's just trying to lean forward a little bit, so we'll just prop it back in with mounds of our soil. So it's a little bit away from the corner. It's not a problem. That'll help it get established. We'll pull out the next one. There's lots of white roots on this one, white tips, so we're literally just going to pull the soil away from the top level, get down to our root level, which is there, and because we've got all these lovely white tips, we're just going to put that straight in as so. We'll take our blue scoop, get our mycorrhiza in to the root mass, and with those nice white root tips, it should do nice and good. Just get this filled up with our bonsai soil. And then we'll just tamp it down and into position. So there's lots of room inside this pot for the trees to put out their roots and get established. So they should, if they continue to grow, do quite well in here. They can get rid of that glitter. None of them have got that horrible fake snow on there. So these should do nice. So that's what they look like. We're not worried about getting the asymmetrical design or anything like that. This is literally a humble beginnings for baby trees that were bought as Christmas decorations, and I'm sure you've seen loads of these go into the bins, people just chucking them away And it's such a shame because, you know, they've been grown for probably a good few years to get to this level, and then for a couple of pounds or a few dollars they're decorated up a little bit, put into a supermarket shelf, and taken home by everybody and anybody to celebrate and enjoy Christmas periods or holiday periods, and then they just die off and end up in the bin. Such a shame. So there it is, watered through in some nice bonsai soil, even though the roots are still in the original soil, but there's lots of space for them to put their roots out and continue to do well. Now what we've also got, which we bought around about the same time, I went into a garden centre and I saw this pine and I was like, oh, look how, you know, nice and bendy it is. And I've got two choices with this. I can either wire it and bend it so that it can form its position and leave it in this pot for now, or I can place it into a new pot, let it get established in there, and then, you know, do any wiring from there on. To help me make that decision, I'm just going to check to see what is happening with the roots. Yeah, we've got some big white growing tips down there. That's been growing outside of the pot and that's going around, so I think we will leave it in the pot for now. And I'm just going to look to see where we're at for being able to do any...
Sorry, I can't help you with that on Apple.
Any styling. So there's lots of movement. We'd be able to, you know, bend and do whatever we like pretty much. I think what we do need to do is see where our level would be, so I can still keep it in that pot, but I can just work the topsoil away to get to where our root level would be. Looks like that was a seed. Or at least the shell of a seed that fell into the pot. So we'll just come down to where our level's going to be, and it's quite a long way down by the looks of this. So any movement would need to be in line with how, you know, the level of our root mass. So we're down here, we're long way down. I think we might end up actually repotting this now. There's the old burlap, what used to be what it's grown in. We've still not got down and into where the root level is. I think we just found a root there, so it might be a case of getting it into a pot that we can pot it to that level. This one that I was intending would be a little bit too shallow, so if we put it back in there, obviously it's disappearing into that and the roots have got nowhere to go, so we'll keep the root mass like that. That's the beginning of some top layer of roots. Still a ways down after that though for the main root. We might still get it into that pot. I was going to just start looking for a pot to put it in, and it may well go into there. So there's the main action of the root, and it's coming up from somewhere down below, so it's stirring its way up the pot. And I think that would still be a bit too high for that planting level? Quite possibly, yes. Let me have a look to see what I've got that we can put it in, and then we can plant it, let it get established, and then any work that we do to the tree after that, we'll have to wait for it to be established. So I found a similar coloured pot which is quite nice, which is going to cover the depth of that.
Not sure I understand.
Shut up! So that'll do quite nice in there, and we'll be able to plant it up to that level. So we do just need a bit of screen, which I have here. One hole, that's good. And if we just get a small base layer into the bottom, we'll use a bit more of the mica. And then we'll position our tree in, and it's not going to do too bad at that. And we will put a bit of mica just onto the roots, come in with plenty of bonsai soil. Get it up and around the trunk, a little bit high, but that's okay. We've just got a few high level roots that we can just snip off. They're not going to cause us too much of a problem. And we'll just water that in, allow all the soil to soak through. There's a train going by out there, can't see it, it must be on one of the other rails. And just to help this along, I'm just going to come in with some old moss that's dried up a little bit and just position that around the root as so. And that will just help keep those top roots just a little bit damp instead of them drying up on the surface. So we'll push that layer into the soil so it makes good contact. The moss may come in, it may die off, but it will do the job of just keeping that top layer, you know, it will retain some dampness to that root level. We'll just soak it in nicely. That's draining through okay, all the water's pooling out around the back. All the water's pooling down here, so that's coming out well. So at least it's out of that plastic pot and the roots can get established into this pot, and it can live in this pot for a few years. We'll just keep taking it out, trimming the roots, working them back, but we'll wait for it to get established before we do anything to the top levels, to the branching. Okay, so that's going to do it for today. Thanks for joining me on what became Pine Day. It's Sunday today, so Sunday Pine Day. I'll go upstairs and get this footage put into the system so you'll be able to see it, and then it's Sunday dinner day, so I'm going to enjoy that. So as always, make the best of the rest of your day. I know I will, eating my Sunday dinner. Be kind to each other, animals and the planet, and as always, I'll see you again in the next one.